What's up, gang? This is John coming at you from Kawila Motors, and as you've seen from the tag, this is a new year old ass bike. Well, sort of, right? So this video is going to be based on my 2020 my 2000 YZ-E conversion. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is the only and the first full-size electric dirt bike that has been converted from gas to electric in the 50th state. Now, if anybody wants to contest that, please let me know. I would love to see what other bikes are out there, but I believe this is the first, and I hope it's not the last. This was kind of a lot of work, and as you'll see in the video, this build wasn't, well, not yet anyway, it wasn't made for beauty. This is not a good looking bike by any means at the moment. Now, the reason is because I wasn't sure if I wanted to invest all the money, and honestly I wasn't even sure if I could do it, like if I was smart enough to do it. But thanks to the YouTube channels and Facebook groups that I've been looking at, and every time I see something on that, I'm like, oh, that's a good idea, I should have done that. But it's pretty janky the way it is, but it works. There's videos out there, and actually I posted my other video a little too early, but I posted a video of me riding this at Kahuku in some, mildly difficult stuff, nothing too crazy. It wasn't slippery or anything. No, it wasn't fast. It was more of a hard enduro kind of pace. Well, not pace, but hard enduro, I guess, sections. But yeah, like, the bike performs awesome, and we'll go over basically what I did, and then we'll have another video that goes more in depth into how I put some stuff certain places. I really wanted to show how I did this bike, like how I did the build, kind of like bringing everybody along for the ride. But honestly, I took too long, and it was too humbug, and it's too frustrating for me to set up the camera and then do something and figure out and think, and I didn't have time for all of that. So anyway, maybe when I restore this bike and make it all nice and I break it down, then I'll show what I did for the finer details. And also, I'm going to say everything I like about this bike, and I'm going to say a couple things that I totally regret about this bike. Like, it wasn't as easy as a lot of people think it is, but I do have a couple regrets from this bike, and we'll go over that in the video right now. All right, so first off, like, talking about the looks of the bike, right? Mahalo, big shout out to Scrub Designs. Now, Scrub Designs is a company out of Europe. I forget exactly what country, but they hooked me up. Well, not hooked me up, but they really did a good job with these graphics, and I asked them to do like that kind of like graffiti style, anime or scratch kind of graphics. I don't exactly know what you call that style, but they really did a great job. Now, that's one thing I like about this bike. I like the graphics. It came out cool. Got my logo over there, Kawila Motors. They let me put it wherever, and I kind of went a little overboard, repping the Hawaiian flag, of course, for the 50th state, the 808. But one of my regrets is I didn't put YZ-E. I was so caught up, and I just got this logo made for my brother, Bruto Mars graphic design, and I totally didn't put YZ-E here. I mean, goodness grief, like, why didn't I do the one thing I should have done, right? But anyway, I have another set of plastics, so actually when we do the rebuild, I'll probably get a new set of stickers made, graphics made for this. Put the YZ-E right here. I'm thinking about going with the purple and white throwback that the Yamahas do, have gone with, and that's kind of cool. Like, I like the graphics, came out really nice. They let me put Molicel, of course, and I'll go into details why I have Molicel here, because that is what the battery is built out of. Of course, I had to rep the KYBs. Gotta let everybody know that this has KYBs. Like, they're 24 years old, but they're still KYBs. So, and the graphics came out cool. The plastics I got from UFO, and that was actually pretty good. Like, everything fit perfectly. I got a blue set, I got a black set, and I opted to put these graphics on the black set, which kind of made the bike a little bit different. And like I said, I might have said earlier, I kind of like the fact that it's a 2000, and some guys would have opted for a newer bike so that they can put the restyle kit, but I kind of found, doing this build, I kind of found some joy in having the old look of a 2000, but being electric, of course. You know, there's something about it, like it's not a new, it doesn't look new, it looks old, or it is old, and then I've had modern technology put in, right? So there's something to say about that. So over the time, months spent working on this bike, I've actually come to appreciate the fact that it is a 2000, and the way that the plastics look, and kind of nostalgic in a way, you know, for all you other guys out there who was kind of in this era of riding when this bike was brand new, or maybe this was the coveted bike that everybody had, right? So yeah, and big mahalos to brother Kevin out there in exit 8 that sold me the bike. I sold the gas motor right away because I knew if I didn't, I would have just slapped it back together and tried to sell it. Like I would have chickened out. So I got rid of the motor, and with the rolling chassis, like what the hell else are you gonna do but go through with the conversion? So mahalo to brother Kevin. Still got I owe him a ride on it. He's supposed to be the first guy, but shoots, things just got busy. But anyways, when it comes to the drivetrain, this setup came from Electro and Co, and it was so easy, like right out the box, just to turn everything on. I hooked up a battery to it. I put some leads on the controller, which is a Volto 260 tuned by Electro and Co, so you don't have to do anything weird to it, you know. There's 3 maps here, and there's an on and off button. So this is your ignition. Of course, you see the display come on, gives you miles per hour, gives you what gear you're in, but the gear literally means the mode. So you have 1, 2, and then it goes to 4. So there's no 3. But here's your selector switch, so you can go 1, 2, and 3, and you can change this in real time, which is also very, very cool. Your battery meter here, got to charge the sucker up, but your battery meter is there. And Electro & Co did an awesome job on the tuning and the wiring harness. They took out all the things that you don't need for the wiring harness. There's no guessing, and it only came out to like a few wires, which is perfect because I didn't want to mess with all that stuff, you know. It was hard enough for me trying to mount the engine, or figure out how to mount the engine in the bike, which we'll get to in a second, let alone all the electrical wiring, yada yada yada. And this is DC powered, so it should be as easy as plugging in a adequate battery and going for it. I put a formula, a option for of course we all know the Yamahas don't come with hydraulic clutches, but I option for formula left hand rear brake, and then of course I did my little tricky mod with the brake lock here, which is supposed to be a clutch lock for a quad, a Banshee. And this has been one of the great things, like even right now we're on a slope here and I don't have to worry about anything, you know. Let's see, have a throttle. Our throttle here is similar, actually it's the exact same throttle that you would see on a Stark Varg. So the quality of the throttle is very good. It's very smooth, and the thing I like about this throttle, besides its diameter, it's very big, so you got to keep the brake lever away so it doesn't get into it. But the one thing I like about this throttle is the return spring. It's actually quite stiff, and some people would ask why do you like that, but to me it mimics a real bike closer than electronic throttle that basically is just like nothing, right? So when you're in tight spots or doing technical things, it's a little bit easier to control and not give it too much because you have some resistance or a similar resistance. So I do really like the throttle here. I got lazy and I just threw my EM Trials bars on it with some risers. So I went from the 7/8 thin bar to 1.8" regular heavy duty bar, but a standard bar now. And of course I like the Zeta handguard systems. I like the way they look, I like the way they work, their quality. So I got Zeta bar mounts for the top, Zeta handguards, and the wraparound bark busters for our tight Hawaiian stuff. And then also NSX. Now I always thought these were really extra, like looking, you know, like, oh, it's got neoprene on it and it's super heavy duty, what what is this, nylon. But the way that they mount it, when I got it, the way that they mount the strap up and the hardware and the comfort of this thing, like when you're dead tired and you're actually at the point where you have to pull someone, like this thing doesn't dig into your hand, so it's actually really, really good. So shout out to NSX. Like they make some good stuff. Like it's simple, it's nothing fancy, but it's fucking solid. It's really good. I like that. I don't plan on letting anybody help me with this, but I got it for the front and I got it for the back as well, and we'll go over that a little later. Of course, KYBs. The only thing that I kind of went for looks on this build was these new wheels. Now you might say, well, you didn't get the best wheels, which I would agree. They're not the best quality. KKE it is what it is. You know, it's a Chinese brand. I'm not gonna lie, everybody knows that. But they were affordable. They were good enough for my purpose. They look good, and you know, I wanted to get something new. The original wheels, the 20-year-old wheels, had a OEM hub in the front, which was kind of corroded, and I think it was a DID, or it was a Excel wheel in the back with the shiny hub, so it didn't look that great to begin with. So hey, KKEs for the front and the rear. Obviously I just rebuilt the front caliper, and I just ran a new hose for the front brake. The suspension, I have yet to redo the suspension. This is 22-year-old suspension, or 24-year-old, 25-year-old now suspension, and it feels like 25-year-old suspension. So I gotta really, when my rebuild does everything and I get into it, I gotta rebuild that, of course, with the shock. Now, people ask, what did I do with the gas tank? And the kind of cool thing about it is I turned it into my charging port. It's an XT60 here, which goes into my gas tank and actually feeds into the battery via some of these waterproof plugs that I made on the top. And yeah, I actually had to cut the tank. So this tank is open right here. I had to cut the tank so that it would accommodate my battery box that was actually also custom made by a good friend, Craig, who is a master fabricator on the island of Oahu. I mean, if you're watching this and you're from Oahu and you do sheet metal, Craig, wow, the guy is an ace. Like, I gave him a template and he made it perfect, first crack. This is aluminum, and then I had to modify some of the other things around and the shrouds so that it would line up. But ultimately I did save the radiator guards, just the guards themselves, and I used that to mock up as a full radiator so that I can mount the plastics on, get something kind of solid here, and you know, keep the look of the bike like OEM as much as possible, you know. Now going down to right here, SXS, the best skid plates around. Like, these skid plates are awesome. Big shout out to them. This I got from my guy Luda at Luda Bike Works. As you can see, John from SXS signs all the plates, so it's kind of a nice little touch. I get to see that whenever I look down, and you can see how there's a huge gap here, which would have been taken up by motor, but now is just empty space. So that's kind of cool. I do have a problem with mud collecting in here, so I will have to do something about making some sort of guard here, or you know, filling up this space with something really light in here so that mud doesn't collect. There was one ride in particular where this tire just threw mud all the way up in here, and it made the bike a lot heavier. And I mean, basically I don't want it to pack up, you know. I mean, that's as simple as that. And then when it comes to the rubber on the front, I put a Shinko Cheater fat tire with a TYRE. This one is a, what is this, a 90-121, so it's kind of a bigger front tire, and I personally like this tire. It's a little bit heavier, but it's bouncy. It absorbs a lot, you know. I'm not running tubeless in the front, just running a regular heavy duty tube, and it's nice and grippy. Like, this tire is soft and grippy, so I don't know, for all my, even my gas bike, my old Riehu, I like this tire for that purpose. I feel like the bigger volume kind of lets it roll over stuff a lot easier, makes it more stable in the front. But yeah, Shinko Cheater in the front. And when it comes to the drivetrain, the motor, now let's see that motor. Oh, let's see that. So Mickey Mouse. Just a bunch of washers and some metal spacers and a 8mm bolt. I really gotta fix that. Please don't judge me too hard, but like I said, this is proof of concept just to make sure everything aligned up. I'm gonna have some you know, steel spacers made to take up those gaps, make that connection a lot more solid. But even on the back, like I just put a piece of tube steel over the existing swing arm shaft, cut a couple pieces of tabs off of a metal rod, and I just mounted it up. I had to shave down some of the aluminum on the motor itself, and that part was kind of critical in aligning the motor to the, you know, to the rear sprocket, or the front sprocket to the rear sprocket. Now I just got some pegs laying around, so it's just some cheapo aluminum pegs that were bigger than the OEM ones. Maybe from here you can see a little bit better. Yeah, there's a bubblegum weld there because I just had my friend tack it from here, like just tack, and just to see if it'd be solid. We'll take this off, we'll take this apart, and then we'll grind it down and, you know, do a whole weld. But this is, for me guys, this has been solid. I even put a spacer down here. I added a spacer, a little, you know, stud, I guess you could say, to the frame itself, and then I ran a bolt. So this is actually a really solid brace. Once it gets production welded in, it's going to be super solid. So far so good, no complaints. But this is from Mike E from Britain. This is just a cover guard for the sprocket so that your boot doesn't get stuck in it, of course. I did have some reservations because I didn't know if the mud would be a problem, but the mud kind of just comes out the top and the bottom. It's open for, you know, the top and the bottom. And then of course this battery, this is a 72 volt 50 amp hour battery. Not the biggest. I wish I could go bigger, but honestly, with the 2 strokes, you have that crossbar at the top right there that mounts, that holds the gas tank, and that's kind of your limiting factor. Like I have in here, if you look at it, that battery case is fitted as big as you can to this space, and you're really not going to get any more batteries in here rather than coming out, which would be detrimental because of course the further you come out, you know, you're gonna run into like your brackets, and then everything is just gonna be out there to get damaged if you crash. And it's not if you crash, it's when you crash. You know, you're always gonna have a tip over sometime. But being able to go into the gas tank here, I was able to run all my wires. So all my controller wires, all the power wires from my main plug, which is the QS10 right here, is going through that. And I was able to fit my Volto 260 fully in the air box. Maybe I'll make a cover here just to keep some of the mud or the water or excess stuff out. But yeah, I'll just put a cover here and be done with it, you know. Everything else is pretty much standard. Subframe was a little tweaked, so I had to kind of kick it around, tweak it back. Again, KKE on the rear wheel. I kept the stock rear sprocket, which is a 50. I didn't mess with the gearing so much. If you know anything about this V3 QS 138 V3 motor, it's stepped down. It's a 2-to-1 step down, so that you can run regular gearing in the back. You don't have to go with the big, you know, the big sprocket. And it seems to be good. Honestly, I don't know if I would change it. If I go maybe a little smaller, like a 1 or 2 toot smaller, I'll pull this off, and I forget, I think I have a 13 in the front of this guy. I didn't change it, so whatever was stock, I think it's a 13 up front and a 50 in the back. And that KKE has a Dunlop Geomax 140/80/18 gummy tire. Now, I know I got the X-Grip sticker, and I've been meaning to put my escalator on, but I'm gonna wear this guy out first before I get to that. But this tire is pretty good, actually. It's an FIM tire, I believe, and it's super soft, it's super gummy. You can down the pressure. Of course, I have tubeless on this one, so you can lower the pressure and get a nice squat. And with the electric torque and with the throttle and the controller working in conjunction and being so smooth, this thing, it grips a lot. Like, even when I had the trials tire on this bike, I had a trials tire in my last Hard Enduro video that I posted, and that thing was just gripping. Like, it was a dry day, don't get me wrong, it was dry, it was nothing to really slip on, but that trials tire worked awesome. And this one, pretty similar as far as the compound. So I'm liking the tire. I like the tire. I'm gonna put my Escalator on when this thing wears out. But yeah, like, I believe this tire and the Escalator is gonna get me like some really good traction on this bike. Like, the power delivery and the weight. The weight, I haven't officially weighed it, but I believe it's around 240. It's a lot lighter than the Stark, and it's almost just as heavy as a regular standard gas bike, which is pretty amazing, which makes the riding experience a whole lot better. The Stark does have more weight on the bottom, which makes it feel more nimble. This one is a little bit higher, but it's not that much higher. So, you know, overall it has less battery too, obviously. So you kind of give and take on that one, right? And then, of course, you know, a couple things. Got the NSX grip back here, and this has been a lifesaver. When I had this plate off, the subframe was exposed, and I was actually grabbing the subframe and moving it around if I had to, which worked really good. And I'm not exactly sure why more people don't do that. I might notch it back out so I can grab the frame, but for now, this thing was working super good. Like, it's really comfortable, really solid. Shout out to my friend Brax at 90 Feet and Glassy Pipes. And when I say pipes, I don't mean pipes, I mean pipes. So go check them out, 90 Feet and Glassy, if you need some glass accessories, beautiful glass accessories. But yeah, man, I mean, this, let's put a seat cover on it, a gripper seat cover, nothing fancy. But again, this build wasn't for necessarily, it wasn't for looks, you know, it's proof of concept, and I think I did it. Like, I think I did a pretty good job of getting it to run. Now, I put it in a race. I've ridden some decent trails with it. Like, Kahuku actually put into a GP, which I missed the start and all this whatever, but I was just riding around and it rode great. And when it comes down to it, it's a Yamaha. I mean, we all know the Yamaha rides good. Like, the ergonomics are great. They feel great. You know, a lot of times in the older 2000s, of course, you get that power band talk, right? People would just be like, yeah, and then you just, you know, with the power bands and all that stuff. But with Cody Webb coming on to Yamaha and the Blue Crew, talking more about like the hit list stuff like that, you know, it's all good. Like, a lot of people are reviving the Yamahas, and I just thought this would be a great bike to start that conversion, and I'm glad that it worked out, and I think it's only going to get better as, you know, time goes on. Now, in the upcoming videos, might not be right away, but in the upcoming videos, we're going to break this down, and we're going to get the, you know, the frame powder coated and all that stuff. We're going to make it nicer, you know, we're going to get it nicer. We want to make it look good and run good. Since we got it running good, want to make it look a little bit better too. So thanks for watching, and before I leave, the one regret that I have, the one regret that I have of this whole stupid YZE project is that I didn't do it sooner. Like, I got this bike in 2001. I think I got the bike in 2001. I ordered all the parts and it was sitting, and then Stark Varg came out, and it's like, oh, the Stark Varg is like the coolest thing, and it's going to be here in a year. Well, what I thought was, why would I kill myself making an inferior bike, you know, with this Yamaha build? Like, I could just buy a Stark Varg and it would be good. But 1 year turned into 2 years for the Varg waiting, and then when I finally got the Varg, it was awesome. It is what it is. It's everything they say it is, but it is 260 pounds as well, you know, and it's a bunch of complicated electronics that you might not even want, you know, like, I mean, the other Bluetooth stuff, that's cool and everything, but I can't tell what the voltage is, like, you know, without the phone. And if I don't have the phone, I don't know what power is. And you know, there's a bunch of things. Love the Sagvarg or hate it, but my biggest regret is just all those things left me to shelf this project. And I wish I just pushed through and I got this thing done earlier. I would have had videos like this. I would have enjoyed this bike more, because it is a dream to ride. It is really fun. It's just everything you ever want in a Yamaha, with the torque and the quietness and the smoothness of an electric dirt bike. So that being said, yeah, that's my number one reason. My number one regret is that I just didn't push through and finish it earlier. So with that, thank you guys for watching. Happy New Year. Kawila Motors is very appreciative of all you guys' support. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want to see more content on this YZE electric motion stuff, hopefully more trials things in Hawaii. I have a whole video about that, of why trials doesn't work in Hawaii. But other than that, thank you guys. Mahalo. Happy New Year again. Until next time, ride with aloha.